Today's episode is brought to you by Mattress Firm. Everyone knows how important stretching is before an event. So does Mattress Firm, except it's your dollar. Your budget stretches further when you're shopping at America's neighborhood mattress store. It's a true home run, and you'll have a ball. They're the head coaches when it comes to mattress expertise. But know this, they are more than mattress experts. They have a game plan that helps you transform your mattress into a bed. From adjustable bases and sheets to headboards and bedroom decor, they have you literally and figuratively covered up like your favorite cornerback. Go to mattressfirm.com/podcast to see what deals are happening as I read this sentence to you. They even offer you a 120-night sleep trial to ensure perfection and a 120-night low price guarantee, so you know you paid the perfect price. Talk about a 1-2 punch, a knockout, if you will. Score big with a perfect bed. Head to mattressfirm.com/podcast to get the play-by-play on how you can monumentally improve your sleep today, tonight, and tomorrow. Welcome to the JJ Redick Podcast, where I interview some of the biggest names in sports and culture, as well as give you an inside look at life in the NBA. Very excited for this week's show. I had the chance to sit down with one of my dream podcast guests, literally one of my dream podcast guests, actor and comedian Jason Sudeikis.
Because I have gifs in my head of those moments happening throughout my life with Ty Lue or this fellow Brian Merchant. I remember him dunking on me so hard at the Athletic Club of Overland Park. And I just stayed down like I was hurt because I didn't want to hear it. I just stayed down like, and so nobody could be like, they were just like, everybody went like, oh shit, you okay, dude? It's like, I don't know, man. Like, that was instantly, it's like, I get why people flop. It's mostly just so they don't get gift.
I talk with Jason about his best SNL stories, the Beatles, and why playing against Ty Lue was his come to Jesus moment that he's not going to play in the NBA. That's up next. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to this week's episode of the JJ Redick Podcast. I have one of my dream guests on the show with me today. It's Jason Sudeikis. Jason was nice enough to join me for what ended up being close to an hour and a half of content. We've condensed it down for you, the listener, because him and I went on some random tangents that we deemed unworthy of putting on the pod. But it's a lot of stuff we talk about, and Jason was a very, very gracious guest, invited me into his home in Brooklyn, and we sat at his dining room table and just chopped it up. It was really awesome. Before I get to Jason, one quick thing. I know that I have been in the news over the last few days. I released a statement on Twitter on Sunday night regarding a video greeting that was recorded for the Chinese New Year. I've said my piece about it. I don't know if I can explain myself any further. I've essentially said my piece, but I would like to take this opportunity one more time to apologize and say that I'm sorry for anyone that was offended by my mishap. All right, without further ado, let's get to my combo with Jason Sudeikis. Otis must have been...
Otis's first game was a Clippers game. It was me, Forte, Otis. Forte was in full-on half beard, half...
I remember that game. Yeah.
Half skull, like half as...
So do you remember what year that was then?
That would have been 2015, right? Okay. 2016? Yeah, because he would have been...
Otis was born in 2014, right?
2014.
So I feel like my oldest and Otis are about the same age.
Yeah, he's April.
Because I was with my oldest, Knox, walking down Abbot Kinney, Venice.
Yes.
And I see Olivia.
Yep. Very conspicuous.
At the time, my sister-in-law, who still works in PR, was on Olivia's team over at PMK.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And so I said, as Olivia passed me, I was like, "Oh, that's Olivia." I was like, "Olivia, hey, what's up?" And I, introduced myself. I'm Kylie Kilgore's, brother-in-law or whatever. And we introduced our kids, and she's, this is Otis. And I turned to my son Knox, and I said, "Yeah, this is JJ." And then she started talking, and there was this awkward 5-second pause, and I was like,
Yeah, his name's not JJ. It's Knox.
My name's Knox. No, wait. No, I'm sorry.
But it wasn't because I was like nervous. I was trying to say something about you. I think.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of Jason, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that. Yeah.
And that's sort of what came out.
That's flummoxing to people to say that they're a fan of me. It would be. That would rattle most folks. I would, because go on record, you're kind of like, oh, she'll tell him this, and then I'll have to watch a bunch of stuff he's done.
And it's gonna be weird the next time I see it at Clippers game.
Hey man, I hear you're a big fan. Like I come at you like that. I remember in high school, my friend Brandon telling me that a girl that I had a crush on was gonna be at this party, and then we get to the party, and at some point I called her. I was like, hey, I heard you were going to so-and-so's party. And she's like, yeah. I was like, okay, hey, I think I'm going to go too. See you there. And then we get there. I see Brandon there. I go, hey, so where's Julie? And he's like, oh, dude, I was fucking with you. Like, are we allowed to swear? I was like, what? That's not cool. I called her. It was like horrible. It's so embarrassing. So it's all right. You're fine. That's bad. It's worse to have that happen at 18 than whatever age we all are now.
Yeah,
we're all like 30.
I'm comfortable enough to say that to someone though. Like,
yeah. Say you're a fan of someone.
Yeah, for sure.
Me too. You got to. I think it's important.
You're a sports fan though. You're a basketball a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
you played growing up.
I played growing up. My joke or like sort of I'm always like I know all the rules. I know the rules of all the games. But would I say I'm a fan? I don't live and die by it. Like friends and certainly coworkers of yourself. Like
you haven't adopted the Knicks or the Nets.
No, we did a Knicks a little bit when we were living in Manhattan. I'd love to adopt the Nets at some point. I think it'll take maybe, just for the neighborhood. I mean, we only live 10-minute walk from here. 12-minute run. Oddly. Yeah. Longer if you run.
Very weird.
Yeah,
very weird.
But we and I get winded when I walk though. But yeah, we just haven't made that step yet. I don't want to blame it on them and their front office moves.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to sign with them this past summer.
See, that would have done it.
Things happen.
But you live here instead, and you go to Philly, and part of that's
So I read the story that you played against Ty Lue. Is this a true story? The Cavs coach. Is this in high school, right?
Yeah.
So Adam Levine told me this story one time about I think he was like a sophomore in high school
at Raytown.
And Baron Davis was like an eighth.
Levine was a sophomore.
Adam Levine was a sophomore. And Baron Davis was like an eighth grader, and Adam thought he was awesome at basketball.
And he had to
play against Baron Davis in like a JV game, and Baron had like 65 on him, and he's like, "Oh, maybe I'm not very good." So is that like the similar experience that you had?
Not quite that demoralizing, but he was a sophomore when I was a senior, and we played against each other before because I was playing at a school in Kansas at that point, and he was playing at Raytown, even though he was from a smaller town in Missouri, but he. But yeah, no, he was markedly better than me. At some point, I think it was through AAU that I realized, I'm probably not gonna do this for a living, Or as much as AAU, I think, expanded my horizons in many ways. Because at that point, the conventional wisdom, and it may still be, that white men can't jump, but all it takes you is going around and seeing a bunch of kids from Tennessee or Indiana like jumping out of the gym that are of the same hue as you, and you're kind of like, I guess everything you hear growing up. That's all just sort of, specific and prejudice is maybe not all true. And then AAU taught me that. But I think it was somewhere probably around like freshman year of college. I was playing in community college, and I was like, oh, this isn't. I genuinely think it was going through the lane and getting hit in the face, like during practice, and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I bothering with this? Like, this isn't gonna. It rattled me. I never went to the hole ever again, and it was like that was enough for me. And I'd already had a foot in the door, like at least an interest in doing what I more or less get to do in a lot of ways nowadays. That I was like, I like that. That I don't get hurt, and if I do, it's just emotionally, and that's, feelings aren't facts, and I wasn't that aware at 17, 18, but yeah.
I feel like every kid now, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, thinks they're like gonna be in the league, and I don't know if that's always been the case. But like every kid that I see come through, like I think the 7th guy at Monmouth College thinks that he's gonna play in the league.
Got a shot. Yeah, I mean,
decent shot.
Absolutely. No, I mean I feel the same thing's going on with the White House right now. Everybody's like, I can do that. I can do that now. That makes sense to me. That was like the training center when we did Second City in Las Vegas. Everybody thought they were coming through the training center. Oh, we'll do this for a year.
Yeah.
and I'll be on SNL. They'd ask you questions as like your teacher. You'd be like, so what do I do this for a few months and then SNL auditions? I was like, oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe. Who knows? But that's not normal. It was an interesting thing. We didn't have the because again, this was in Las Vegas versus Chicago, so we didn't have the infrastructure of the community around that sort of weans you off of your hopes and dreams, I guess, sort of bats you down a little bit.
Sure.
Maybe people are dealing with that in their own individual communities and their band of followers or whatever, like where they think, oh, my shit doesn't stink. So there's a good chance if I just show my highlights on Instagram, and the right person saw it, and I had a good tryout. Yeah, maybe I'm 11th.
You check your comments, and everybody's got the fire emoji, and you're like, oh god, I'm going to the league.
I got a light from a Van Gundy. I assume he's a Van Gundy, the coach, or as a commentator. He must have in somewhere. He's a Van Gundy. It's like they're the NBA's Kennedys.
So I want to talk a little bit about your career from the start, actually, because
how far back?
I believe you were raised in Kansas, and then you went to Chicago, Vegas, NYC. I maybe forgot a few things, but it's a conversation I had with Pete Holmes. Do you know Pete?
Yeah.
So I went on Pete's podcast, and
I listened to that. Yeah,
he talked about the grind as like the separator for comedians, and obviously stand up, improv, different things. But what was your experience like with the grind? Because he called it the great separator, and it at times. Or it is the reason that people kind of don't make their dreams because they get beat down and the grind gets to them.
Yes, I would say that makes so much more sense to me in the stand-up world. I think I gravitated towards basketball and team sports because those were organized. They didn't have organized sketch groups, and maybe they do now, but they didn't when I was growing up. So you played sports with your friends. I like playing with people. And so when you go through the grind in the sketch and improv world, and I believe also in athletics, especially, again, team sports versus like tennis or something or track, it's like you lean on each other. That's the grind becomes, dispersed amongst, 12, 5, 7, however many straight white dudes can fit on your improv stage. But like, it's like, it didn't feel like a grind. And even when I look back on it now, none of it seems hard or bad. But I do have memories of in Chicago, especially that first year of feeling like I got better like in a month, and then I would just plateau for like 3 months, and then you get better like in like a 2-week period. And by better, I don't even know what I could mean, because you don't watch game film, you don't watch your improv show, you get notes afterwards, but even then, the notes you're talking about more about channeling your instincts and your because you never get to redo it. Right. It's like it's
so. Is it
gone.
Like a comfort? Is it a confidence thing? Like what is the better?
But I think
I can measure.
Yeah, exactly.
Stats. It's fairly easy for me.
That was a tricky thing to sort of accept. I sort of had to go the John Wooden approach and just be like, if I just do as the best I can, then the scoreboard doesn't matter, because there is no scoreboard in improv. Like they tried to in some little mediums of it. Like I did a thing called Comedy Sports where there was like a team, there were 2 teams and a ref. That was like literally my transition from sports to comedy was Comedy Sports. So that was easy, but it's all fake. It's quote unquote fake. You're not really competing. We're just trying to give the audience a good show, and it's like the Globetrotters, except you didn't know who was going to win. There you go. There's
a level of camaraderie that's appealing to you then, because we have a coach on the Philadelphia 76ers, Jim O'Brien. He's been a head coach in college in the NBA for 3 teams, I think. He's an older gentleman.
Yeah.
And he's made a lot of money, and he's done everything you can do as a coach. And I'm like, why the fuck are you still doing this? And he's like, I just love being a part of a team.
Yeah.
And for you, that was the appeal.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it was also some level of
was it
showman?
Part, the performing part.
Yeah, because I always gravitated towards that, even when playing basketball. And I'm not even being convenient with speaking with you about, because the line is very blurry for me. Like I would say only in the past 7 years did my metaphor switch when interacting with people from being basketball to like SNL. SNL, sometimes when you're in the arts, when you start talking about athletics, you lose people because of a predisposition towards not liking it, or they're conditioned, from whatever, not playing sports or thinking that they shouldn't know anything about it, and vice versa. So then SNL became the metaphor. So when I speak about it, I'm talking about the same things in a lot of ways. But I would say that basketball and comedy was just about funny friends. I just had really, really funny friends, and it was always something, but then for me personally, I know, looking back, even though I didn't take theater classes like in grade school or it did plays in high school, I was a hot dog. I was like of the Pete Maravich. I loved Magic Johnson. I loved. I was bummed that I ended up deciding not to play in the Celebrity All-Star Game, because I would have loved to have met and actually play with or against Jason Williams. Like, that was my
Jason
style.
Williams,
White chocolate.
Yeah.
Like, that was my style of play. Both and knowing what I know now is like, oh, that's me performing. That was me performing in the confines of a structure and with a team. But if there was a chest pass or a through the legs pass, I'm going through the legs every time. That was like, and I like that. And I liked sort of the legend you sort of hear of Pete Maravich and his father, the way they would talk about it. It's like, it's showtime. It's a game. We're having fun.
All right, we're going to take a quick break from Jason to hear a few words from today's sponsor. Buying tickets can be complicated and confusing, but there's a simpler way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event. Whether you're catching your favorite musician on tour, shopping for the perfect gift, or searching for a last-minute deal to see your favorite NBA team, SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. Nothing beats being there in person for the biggest plays of the year, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and it's by far the easiest way I've found to shop for tickets. I can be anywhere, and with just a few taps, I can instantly find seats. I actually used SeatGeek the other day. I was looking up tickets for some Philadelphia Phillies game once the MLB season starts, and I'm looking forward to using SeatGeek to buy my tickets. SeatGeek is designed to make your ticket buying experience easier than ever. SeatGeek saves you time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices and find amazing deals. And to get you the most bang for your buck, SeatGeek grades every ticket based on value to help you immediately identify the best seats that fit your budget. Plus, every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. Make SeatGeek your go-to app for finding the best deals on every type of ticket, from sports and concerts to comedy and theater. Best of all, my listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code JJ today. That's promo code JJ for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, right seat, right now, right from your phone. And now back to Jason Sudeikis.
So I get that sort of desire to play that way, that skill set, if you will, on the basketball court. I get why that would translate to comedy, but there's got to be some sort of aha moment where you're like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into comedy and
moving
I'm going to
Chicago.
test this out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I got lucky because I started doing it in like kind of after I did like workshops in Kansas City. We had a great improv theater called Comedy Sports in Kansas City that was, they would sell out Fridays and Saturdays all the time. I saw it when I was I think freshman in high school. A kid that I grew up with was from North Kansas City, so he knew about it because it wasn't something we knew about in like the southern burbs there in Johnson County. And so I went to go see it like some weekend, maybe homecoming or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is great. And it was basically like Whose Line Is It Anyway? But I don't know if that show was on television yet. I just knew about it from Second City because my folks were from Chicago, and I had relatives that did that. So like I was aware of improv, but it wasn't as ubiquitous as it is now. I think even as like a term, and so then it was wanting to do it, and then I got to do it a whole bunch before I moved to Chicago. And so moving to Chicago would have been like the aha moment. It was the decision to like jump in with both feet and try to do it. And then I just sort of got lucky in a lot of ways, but then had a certain amount of aptitude for it all that made the path a little more accelerated than maybe people had at, or that it was rare, but I
What
wasn't aware of it.
What was the time gap from like moving to Chicago to like becoming an SNL writer in 2003?
Okay, so that would have been about 6 years.
Okay.
6 years. Yeah, I moved there in September of '97, and then I was there for till September of 2000 when I moved away to go to Amsterdam to work at Boom Chicago, which is a sketch and improv theater that Seth did and Jordan Peele and a ton of great folks did. But and then I came home and then went to Vegas, and so then I was there for like 2 years, 9 months. So so it was split pretty evenly between Chicago.
When
and Vegas.
When was this Blue Man group?
The Blue Man, that would have been
phase.
my blue phase, my blue period. That would have been in.
That was in Vegas.
That was definitely in Vegas. Yeah.
So you had this quote about the Blue Man Group, about why you were enamored with it.
Yeah.
And you even tried out for the band
definitely,
or something.
To be a Blue Man. Got flown to New York.
The quote was, "It was an absolute reaction to wanting to be anonymous and silent."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet at the same time, powerful and funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is an interesting juxtaposition, and I certainly can relate to it a little bit.
Yeah. I bet. Yeah.
Because I enjoy relative anonymity.
Yes.
For what I do and who I am.
Yeah.
I'm
not
LeBron James.
No. You're normal size.
Yeah, I'm not an A. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I'm like just at the cusp where I'm like 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
But I still get to do something where I have a power.
Yeah.
There's a relevance to it.
Mm-hmm.
Where in your mind is Blue Man Group relevant though? That was weird. That's a weird thing to me.
It was weird to my friends in Blue Man Group too. They were kind to try to be supportive of me, but then also in some instances try to talk me out of it, which I didn't quite understand. But I did. But I wasn't listening to anybody at that point. It was also in reaction to being disenfranchised with Second City at that point. And it's not indicative of a theater that lasts as long as it's lasted. I mean, they're in 50, almost 50 years now, and do tremendous work out of Chicago. But we had shown up in Las Vegas a little bit under-advertised, a little bit underprepared, and at the end of the day, doing shows for 5 people. And we're given our all, and you're doing 2 shows for 5 people, and we couldn't do 1 show for 10 people because of union rules. So it was, and then then our Blue Man friends who came to see our very first show, and then we went that training center that I was saying. Blue Man guys got it, but it was locals or people from the West Coast that were like, hey, let's take these classes so I can be on SNL next year. The Blue Man guys just wanted to learn about improv and stuff like that. So we all became friends off stage too. So then I would just go and watch this, and I just see them crushing for 1,200 people. Nobody saying a word, international audiences, and I was just taken with it. And they also were all these super cool musician guys that
I've been to the show.
Yeah,
the show is
exactly.
amazing. The show is absolutely incredible.
And so I was as in as you could be. I got to sit up, in the band lofts, because in Vegas it's really, really big.
Yeah.
The one here is in downtown is 100 people there. The entire theater here could fit on the stage in Las Vegas. So it was this rock show that you just get stoned and then go sit behind one of the drummers, and you see them do the tiniest little moves, and the way they were improvising with the crowd as the character. I was really fascinated with it. So that small fraction of it was out of being frustrated with what we were doing down the street at that point. But that all evened out after honestly, after 9/11, where everybody just kind of everybody across the country, much less the world, kind of got rocked and rattled, and I was kind of oh, goodness gracious, and then and that was right after I had auditioned for Blue Man and didn't get it. I wasn't a good enough drummer, so it was this weird. I was in New York, staying right downtown, about 8th Street and 3rd Avenue or something like that, and these dorms they had all the guys auditioning for Blue Man to be in, and I leave, and I was bummed, but they're just well, if he works on his drumming, he'll be a Blue Man. That was the word that got back to me. I was okay, so I'll just keep working on it. Then 9/11 happened, and then our cast went from being 9 people to 5 people, and so we were working all the time, and we just kind of dug in deep, and then the shows got better, and more importantly, the audiences got better, and we, and then it just kind of fizzled away a little bit.
The Desire for Blue Man Group.
Yeah.
The very first show I ever went to in Vegas was it was Cirque du Soleil.
Sure.
The Beatles.
Yeah, it's a great
And
one.
it totally freaked me out.
Sure,
like
I
I had to
too.
leave after like 20 minutes.
Yes.
And I'm not a Beatles fan.
You're not a Beatles fan.
No, I'm not
You're
a
just
Beatles fan.
fuck those guys. It's like when they all sing together, I hate it.
No, I'm not.
How do you go on?
They make good music.
You're right.
I'm just saying, like, they're overrated to me.
There you go. Okay.
Right.
All right. Hey.
Yeah.
You. No one will disagree with you.
It
No,
was
I'm
also
kidding.
Vegas, and it was like 5 PM. I hadn't eaten. I probably had slept.
That's
like
the
2
only one
hours.
Cirque du Soleil show that I've seen that I enjoyed. I hated Cirque du Soleil when I was there. I was like,
I've seen almost every one of them since then.
Yeah.
and I hated that one.
that I was like, how do they audition for this? What do you walk in a room and you lift up your brother by your calves, and they're like, yeah, maybe we can use you. It's fascinating to me. That
The
whole
girl that I dated before my wife.
Yeah.
There was a Cirque du Soleil in Orlando. I
Yes.
played in Orlando for 7
Gotcha.
years.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
And the girl I dated before my wife, right after she graduated college,
Right.
she was like a cheerleader in high school, and she was like, I'm going to go try to do Cirque du Soleil. And I was like, great.
Yeah.
Go try.
Yeah.
And she came back and she was like, she couldn't do one exercise.
That's what I mean.
It's insane what they're able to do.
I feel like it's like soccer in Europe. They start when they're real little. You have to be in a Cirque du Soleil family and then come up. But the music was always the thing that made me lose it. So like when it was Beatles music, or I'd heard tale of them wanting to, workshopping a Zeppelin show or something like that. I was like, well, I'd love that. I'd watch some, human beings do some amazing shit to like music really loud that I like. But I'm in the camp of liking the Beatles. I'm one of those rare birds.
Go. I'm one of those rare birds. I've had a podcast before.
Yeah.
So it was on Yahoo, and prior to this one, and my very first podcast, I decided that on each episode, I was number 4 for the Clippers. So on each episode, I was going to have a little segment called 4 on 4, a little play on words,
Yes.
like basketball 4 on 4.
Yep, love it.
It's going to be me on 4 things, and it was going to be every episode is going to be different, and the guests could be involved or not be involved or whatever. But on my very first show, I decided to do my 4 most overrated things.
Yeah.
And the number 1 most overrated thing was the Beatles, and I got a lot of flack.
Oh yeah, this is a hot take. That is
That is the hottest of takes.
Yeah, it's I don't even know. It'd be like, I don't know. I think the American flag's okay looking. I don't know. It seems like the stars are like a little gaudy, right? Stars. It's like being I know this is birthday cake.
Birthday
right? I mean, like the whole everybody's singing and blowing out candles. Like, who needs it? Right?
Who is your musician of choice? Like who is?
God, who do I love? I'm pretty all over the place. Yeah. I would say one of the things that I miss dearly about being at SNL, and even though I watch it every time it's on, is being or hearing of new artists. Even though by the time they get to they're well on their way. They're they've at least been in Rolling Stone or something.
Sure.
But then you get invited to like certain things. Oh, we're going to see this person or going to see that person. Now, as you get older, you can't touch your toes as much, either metaphorically or physically. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to listen to the same 4 albums over and over. So then that's why playlists are good. Like you just go on like whatever.
Do you listen to jazz?
Yeah, but not like.
I decided 2 days ago that
You're going to get into it?
I'm going to get into jazz.
Have you seen Whiplash?
I've been going through a lot this week. So
Yeah,
2
yeah.
days ago, I was like, jazz and wine.
This is, oh my God, yeah, you're a grown up now.
That's what I'm going
and
after.
I'm going to use valet. I'm always going to use valet. No more pillow parking for me. I'm gonna $8. Here you go, man. I'll see you in a little. Oh, I get a ticket. Great. We got a fellow that lives next door to us in the garden apartment right next door named Cleve, who is a badass jazz musician. Played with like Count Basie when he was a young fella. Every now and then. And sometimes almost like on cue, you'll have the door open here, or the window open here, and you'll just hear like this sweet clarinet sound, and it's or the saxophone, and it's just Cleve just outside in the courtyard scoring this like we're in the middle of a Spike Lee movie, which is fantastic.
That's
He's
beautiful.
badass.
It's picturesque.
Yeah, it is.
But it's like when people think of like a Brooklyn brownstone, they're thinking of that.
They're hearing
Just
clarinet.
like-
They're hearing
just
Cleve.
hearing
yeah,
jazz
he's
in the
doing it. And
background.
then every now and then he must have instruments down there because he'll have people over and jam. And it's great. You get in the if more in the springtime when the windows are all open there that you hear it. But you should watch Whiplash if you want to get into jazz because I think it's a good movie for especially people that played that are athletes.
So I'm
good
obsessed.
coach.
I'm obsessed with that movie.
Okay, well,
I
there
think
you
it's
go.
amazing.
Yeah,
but the
agreed.
movie got like this weird backlash, but you got a backlash from like real jazz people that it wasn't. But it's like if I watched
I'll talk
a
shit
movie
on Studio 60 and Aaron Sorkin's a genius, but like yeah, you come into someone's house, you're gonna watch Blue Chips and be like, come on, man.
Yeah. I have a problem. Did you watch Hoosiers?
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched Hoosiers, and I watched like every single day when I was a kid. Then as an adult, I went back and watched it and realized that half the scenes in the championship game are just shot from different angles. So like Jimmy Chitwood will make a shot in the first half.
Loss of innocence, right?
And then they'll change the angle. Same shot, it's just different camera.
Yeah.
And it ruined the movie for me.
The thing that happened to me most recently was that Quincy Jones, interview. There's just a lot of loss of innocence, just a lot of things you realize, wow, I'll be darned. Oh, well. Yeah. But no, and what about Ray shooting the ball with one leg up like that? Come on, Ray. Don't hot dog it. And why are you shooting so far? And shit would shoot, and all those, he's shooting like 21-foot 2-pointers. Yeah. Bad shots.
They were bad shots.
No, how did Normandale allow that? Like, I don't know.
Oh, man.
All sorts of things. If we went back and watched that. What about the timetable now of Barbara Hershey's character finding that article like in a buried like about him hitting a kid at Ithaca, and it's like she had to go to like the big town and go into the microfiche.
Now real library.
Now you just get put Normandale as a Google alert, and you're like, oh, he tried to smooch a 8th grader. This guy can't coach for here anymore. Try to kiss an 8th grade boy. It was his son. Well, still shouldn't be allowed to coach.
All right. Speaking of actually Google alerts, that's a great way to transition back into my next question, which was about
the internet.
Anonymity, being anonymous. No, I'm very curious. I'm fascinated by this because I don't have to deal with this relatively.
Sure.
You and your fiance, you guys are A-listers. So what is your philosophy sort of? In maintaining your just being anonymous or trying to be anonymous and having just a normal sort of existence.
I make the assumption that I'm anonymous until it's blown for me. And so, like, that's a different anonymous than I was talking about for Blue Man. Anonymous in Blue was like literally
you're on stage, yeah.
Where I was just like one of 3. Like I was just, you wouldn't be able to tell, and if you saw us afterwards, like I just liked that. It was mostly the silence, and yet you could look people in the eyes and they didn't know who you were. Like there was something powerful about that I was really drawn to, and probably still am in many ways. But and you can get more into that in like film acting, I think, and television acting than you can like in stage acting, just because the camera's, I'm looking at you, but the camera is from your point of view, so I'm really, whatever. You've seen movies. Hoosiers specifically.
Five.
Exactly. Hoosiers 3 times.
2 of them you started.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's nice, yeah. It depends which 2,
the other
I guess.
3 were Hoosiers and Moana.
Great.
And Frozen.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Well, then, I know I tried to get in all 3 of those, too, and I just butchered all the auditions. One I was 7 years old during. I assume, I don't assume people will know. It sounds like a joke. It sounds like I'm being self-effacing, but it's happened enough that I would say 50, maybe it's less than 50% now, but like, I never know if necessarily people know who I am. Finesse Mitchell, who I worked with at SNL, had this great bit that he would talk about after being on SNL for a couple of years. He was Snap famous, like where someone would come up to him just like, wait a minute, I know you, I know you, you are, how do I know you? Like in Snap, I was like, so I could sometimes be in that realm, or they have me confused with someone else, or we're just sort of like me and all like, 6-foot white dudes with brown hair, kind of like just get lost in the shuffle. At least those that have abs and those that don't. I'm not as well known for my abs as some other fellas. But now it's
who
for
specific.
I was thinking like Ryan Reynolds. I was thinking who's when you think abs, that's who you go to, right? And I was trying to think, he's 6 feet tall with abs. Now I just sort of return whatever energy they present. Like it's a different thing now than I was lucky to grow up with an uncle who was well known. My Uncle George was on Cheers, so he played Norm on Cheers. So I got to see fame and the way it affected people or affected a room, like whether it be your own family room or your grandparents' family room or a classroom or a bar. George Wendt goes walking into a bar in the 90s. Holy hell, that's like, It's like walking to a dance club with, Timberlake. You're like, oh shit, everybody, he's gonna drink. He's gonna drink. Norm's gonna drink a beer at this bar. We're gonna see him. Yeah. This was before everybody had phones on him, so it was like, he's had beers bought for him since 1983. He's never paid for a beer, I don't think. But he, so I got to see that. So then now in today's culture, where it's a little bit more, it's not as user friendly, I guess. It's more just kind of a lot of using, and then if people I attempt to and try to skew polite. So from jump, like not even when people approach me, but just like please and thank you. That's the way I was raised. So if people come up and they're not turkeys about it, then I'll be like, oh yeah, always say yes to a kid if they want a photo. Or someone that dresses like a kid. No, like with their kid. If I'm with my kids, I usually say no. I deal with it in real time, and also I'm a human being. I get down like anybody. So sometimes, and yet sometimes someone asking you for a photo can be kind of like feel kind of nice, where you're like, and if it's attached, even if they attach it to something like people just say nice things. I'm not at a place where I'm like a prop, which is I feel like there's I saw the way even within my generation of SNL, I saw the way people would approach like Andy and Samberg, and it was just different than the way they approached like myself or Bill, like and Andy's like a really smart, like a lot of times quiet guy, like very thoughtful guy. So when people go, hey man, like you'd come up, you're like, whoa, it's just a lot of energy to take on. And when presented with that, if I'm in that mood already, then I can usually come up to that level. If not, then it can be a little off-putting. But
in the snap scenario where someone says
please,
that, I assume you get that sometimes. Like, is there anybody that you ever get mistaken for?
Oh yeah. Like I made jokes about it, but it's happened. Like Ed Helms, we got even though the people that know us and I can totally see it like from 50 yards away with our eyes squinted. Like I could see us getting confused.
I don't see it.
Yeah, but either do I, and I don't think Ed does either. But there's probably just confusing DVD covers or like iTunes menus or something. But my joke, aren't you in The Hangover? I go, no, you're thinking Ed Helms. You're not Ed Helms? No, I wish I had his checking account. That's literally, I've said that 6 sentences or 5 sentences back and forth so many times. It's like, you get used to people coming up saying the same stuff. Oh, you're not in Kansas anymore. Like, they're like, oh yeah, you're good call.
So when you're getting ready in the morning or afternoon and you're getting ready to leave your house.
Yes.
And there's a good chance you'll be photographed if you go to a public place.
Oh gosh,
no, you will.
That only happens a little bit in LA when we were there, but and also when we were living in Manhattan. But it's really the gals that have to deal with that in a tremendously
You're on GQ a lot though. You are.
Am I? That's not bad.
Are.
All right. Well, that's probably because I'm standing next to Liv or walking next to her.
I've seen a lot of solo photos. Best dressed guys of the week or best dressed men of the week.
I didn't
you
know
make
that.
the list, man.
That's nice.
You make the list. Are you conscious of what you wear? Like thinking I want to be on that list?
No, but I'm lucky enough to no. I can honestly say that because I think I would do a better job if I consciously thought about it.
See, I disagree. This is
just like little tiny things. I just know I personally feel better if I'm wearing clothes that match. You know what I mean? Like, and I've got friends in like the fashion industry. One of my good friends, this fellow Matt Baldwin, him and his wife Emily started this company. Baldwin, like those, like Matt designed clothes. He had a great line. He explained to me. He's like, I feel like I designed clothes. I want to design clothes for guys that played sports in high school that at some point realized they liked art. I was like, word, that's
a good description.
Bingo.
That's a good description.
And so it's like it's very Midwestern. It's not like it's not overly baggy or it's not, that doesn't have like drop crotch, or it's not too skinny leg. Like it feels like, oh no, I'm a 42-year-old man, but I still wear a backpack and Jordan, so it's got that going on too.
This started to hit me like 3 years ago as I got further along in my NBA career. Yeah. And like I'm getting older and everyone else is getting younger. Yeah. And then this streetwear thing happened, and it's a struggle for me. It is because I'm a father of 2 kids and I'm approaching my mid-30s.
Yeah, right.
It's like, what do I wear? You know, you do such a great job. I have to.
That's very nice.
You do.
Thank
you.
you.
Do.
Thank you. It really, it literally comes, and yet I can see the evolution from it. But I worked at like Banana Republic. I always loved
like
accessories.
Wait, when did you work at Banana Republic?
When I first moved to Chicago.
Oh, okay.
I worked at Structure, which was like Men's Express in high school. You know, so I always liked him. My dad was always, he's not dressed like like Paul Feig or he wasn't sartorial in any, but he always believed make sure you got a nice dress shirt and your pants look nice. He was always, my mom made us always dress up when we go on planes because she was a travel agent, so we were kind of like, we'd get to fly on passes, so it would be like look nice when you go on the plane. Like in a suit? Not quite suit, suit, but
like a cardigan.
Like a cardigan, like a buttoned cardigan, right? With the tie a little loose. I wear my little fedora with a press pass and my little pencil, looking for a scoop. No, it was really. So that was always in my in my craw.
Okay.
Yeah. So I that's nice of you, but it's a credit towards having friends that send me
It's a struggle because I'm attempting. Well, not attempting, but I am transitioning into sort of being like a minimalist and really trying to figure out, existentially like what really matters in life. And, I think a great collection of bomber jackets is important.
Yes, there you go.
And outside of that, for me, it's like I don't know what else. I need one pair of boots. I'm good.
Dress shoes. I only have probably about very few pairs. I mean, but sneakers I have a whole bunch. But that's a little bit the collector in me as much as it is like the
You are a sneaker head. Like
yes,
but that's one of the things that consistently is on GQ.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Your sneaker wear, even like red carpet. You've been to big events and Tux and Jordans.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
How many pairs of shoes?
I don't know. 250.
Okay.
Yeah, not like
you're not building a shed out back for your shoes.
No, but there's like a room the size of like a nice a nice mid-century elevator. Like, enough for a fella to sit in there and pull the lever for you, but, not so big that, I got to move stuff around to, see the whole space.
Chris Paul, in the first house that he owned in LA, like made his office like a closet for his Jordans. Yeah. LaMarcus Aldridge, I think, built a house behind his house for his shoe collection. But he's got like 10,000 or something.
See, I couldn't.
Do you collect anything else?
Yeah. I've got pinball machines.
Okay.
I guess that if you have more than one, I guess you could, those that's the collecting.
Yeah. Watches?
A couple. I know you're a watch guy, right? Yeah.
I don't
own
watch
now, but
I don't own any.
Oh, you don't?
No,
Why did I think you were?
I am. Well,
okay, wait. That's
I went way overboard. I went way overboard. No. I went way overboard. There's a Franciscan priest that I read a lot, and he had this quote: "Don't let your possessions possess you."
Sure.
And I was at that point with my watches.
Who's
Richard Rohr?
Okay.
Yeah. But I got to the point.
R-O-H-R?
R-O-H-R. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at that point.
Dave Miller and one of my friends that I played basketball with growing up, I got to that point. He was Baptist. This is not a Franciscan, but he was raised Baptist. And one day he came over to my house and brought over like a shoebox full of rap cassettes. And I was like, these are becoming my God, and I'm gonna give them to you. So I was like, yeah, man, bring it. That's great. Sorry about that. I'll take your 3 times dope cassette. Yeah, let's do it.
Some people can handle it. I realized that about myself.
Did you get rid of all of them? You sell them back?
I sold every one of them.
That's amazing. How many did you?
Well, my collection was never more than like 20. Yeah. But I've in the last like 8 or 9 years, I probably own close to 125 watches, like at different times.
That's amazing. Okay,
different
watches. So you'd rotate them. Yeah. You'd rotate them around like Patek Philippe.
I'd like rebuy watches that I missed that watch. I'm gonna go buy it again.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
That's just like a hunting and gather. That's people without NBA contracts are doing the same thing on Pokemon Go. I think it's something in all of us, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
If you did anything, 20 is pretty modest. Like you don't have to have.
No, I mean,
imagine if we were into cars, like Seinfeld and Leno. They have to I believe they both have, or at least I think Seinfeld has like a whole parking structure with all his cars. So that's. I leave home for a couple weeks. I come back and like the damn internet's out. I couldn't imagine starting a car after. Yeah. Hey, I want to drive this thing. I haven't driven in 6 years. Then you go to start it, and all the old radio stations programmed in are all gone.
On that.
Like, right.
Just the overhead of owning that. Because even like with watches, like I own vintage Rolexes, vintage Pateks. Like I had an insurance policy for each individualized item over a certain amount.
Yeah.
And it was costing me a lot of money every year.
Yeah. And where would you?
And those were. Did
you have them at home, like in a safe in the whole bed?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I still, you wear them out, and you gotta protect your assets, man.
Yeah, I have about 4. I have like 5 watches. I bought each of the nice ones right after, like as a reward for booking a gig. Like that was 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's and then it became pinball machines, cameras. I have a lot of film cameras. But it's all, the majority of it is all stuff I use. That's why I look at the sneakers and I'm kind of like, oh, I'm gonna have to do I'm gonna have to give some of these away. So if you know a good charity that takes shoes, especially unused Jordan size 12, they could get a real big windfall.
I feel like there's a distinction between like someone who is like a collector, like a hoarder, and then someone like who's like really intentional about curating a lifestyle, if that makes sense.
I'm closer to that.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
No, like the pinball machines, I had to did research. I would go play them.
Yeah.
I know who designed them. For me, it's the same thing that wanted to be a Blue Man Group. If I were to be honest with you and self-reflective, like it's the exact same quirk, personality. Like it's like, oh, I love this as much as I can without being actually, you making a living at it, but I love it, and it's part of I want it to be part of my life, so I'm gonna surround myself with it and immerse myself in it, and then figure out, and then whatever's meant to be and come from it will continue with me throughout the rest of my life. I just wish I would have had this same, and we'll follow this instinct when it comes to the fucking piano, because I think it'd be neat as hell to be able to play the piano well. But for some reason, no, it's pinball, and loading a 35mm camera, winding a vintage watch in reverse because the pin was put in, all that stuff. I know how to do that stuff really well, and I sit at a piano, I can't do shit, and yet that would be the most impressive of any of them.
Hang tight. We'll have more with Jason Sudeikis after this quick break. Everyone knows how important stretching is before an event. So does Mattress Firm, except it's your dollar. Your budget stretches further when you're shopping at America's neighborhood mattress store. It's a true home run, and you'll have a ball. They're the head coaches when it comes to mattress expertise. But know this, they are more than mattress experts. They have a game plan that helps you transform your mattress into a bed. From adjustable bases and sheets to headboards and bedroom decor, they have you literally and figuratively covered up like your favorite cornerback. Go to mattressfirm.com/podcast to see what deals are happening as I read this sentence to you. They even offer you a 120-night sleep trial to ensure perfection and a 120-night low price guarantee, so you know you paid the perfect price. Talk about a 1-2 punch, a knockout, if you will. Score big with the perfect bed. Head to mattressfirm.com/podcast to get the play-by-play on how you can monumentally improve your sleep today, tonight, and tomorrow. And now back to my conversation with Jason.
There's a... So I'm going to change gears.
Please.
I'm trying to remember where you said this, but...
I love it.
I think
it's on the back of your receipt from Blackberry Farm.
So I don't have paper in my house.
Yeah.
So this is what I do every time. So I write my initial notes. Like I'm chicken scratch, man.
Yeah.
I just scribble them down.
That's half the
And
battle.
I wrote my initial notes.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, and then I found this today, and the notepad was gone. And so I was like, all right. So I was going through my house trying to find paper, and we just got back from Blackberry Farm on Sunday for All-Star break.
Yeah, how about that? Congrats.
I'm not going to show you the balance there.
I've heard about that.
We had some nice wine.
And jazz. Just wine and jazz. Jazz.
Have you been to Blackberry Farm, by the way?
No, I've heard about it. That's in Virginia or something like that?
It's outside Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay,
basically,
Tennessee, right.
like the base of the Smoky Mountain National Park. It's
right.
It's a special place, man.
That's what I hear. I've heard that.
Special place. No, so in the Rolling Stone article that I read, you talked about Imposter Syndrome.
Yeah.
And essentially the fear of being exposed as a fraud. You said something like, "Are they going to find me out?"
Yeah.
This was while I believe you were at SNL. This is you're writing for SNL at the time when you were kind of feeling this.
Yeah.
Do you still feel that? Ever?
Yeah. I think it's in the back of my brain at all times. I think that's part of the reason, why I personally try to make good choices and try to do making like a choice to do something or work on something or or work at something is 100% intentional, and I know that it's hard for me to half-ass it.
Yeah,
it's one of the neat things coming from having a background in athletics is that I talk about this with people in the performing arts, that you sort of end up having this Greek chorus in your head of the people again as you're rolling through life that you just kind of accumulated, that you want to like the stuff you do, whether it be family members or your best friends or a teacher, a mentor you had, or a coach or something like that. And I've got a couple coaches in my head that even though they didn't coach me in the way of yes-anding or reacting on camera or something like that, there's still part of my DNA, part of my spine that I hear them. So like the hard work that they were always harping on me to do is a lot harder as an 18-year-old athlete than it is as a 42-year-old actor. like if I worked an eighth of the amount I did as an athlete, then I'd be about where I am now. That's about what I do. And so it's still harder work than people are surprised by, but it's but yeah, and I think that that's all there because I don't want to like let myself down or like not live up to you don't want to let people down that have hired you because they make good money and it, you want to do a good job by them, be a nice person.
Do any of these characteristics, like, do they resonate with you? Perfectionism, overworking, undermining your own success, fear of failure.
What is this, Virgo?
Discounting praise, discounting praise towards you.
Sure. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Why?
No, I've never heard of this before, and until I read this article, and when you mentioned, I've never heard of imposter syndrome, and something clicked where I'm like, oh. Yeah, I might have that.
Yeah. And
to be clear, it's not a recognized like disease by the American Mental Association. Whatever.
We don't get a parking space. I know, bud. Tell me.
It's not a real thing, but apparently, like
it's an imposter syndrome. Yeah. The imposter syndrome is an imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
How about that? Yeah.
It's not real, but it is real.
No, I remember Ayala Cohen said it. Told me the phrase. She was worked in the talent department at SNL when I first started. I started as a writer,
where you heard it first.
And that's where I was like, you might be feeling a little bit like the imposter syndrome. Now, how she knew it, I don't know, but that's I'm 95% sure that's where I heard it. But it was at SNL, and that's where I felt it. But it felt familiar. Where I was like, oh yeah, because especially that place. There's, heroes of mine were like, have auditioned or written for that show for either a limited time or not at all. And so, you can't help but feel like, oh, well, how am I? I mean, they're them and I'm just me, like, and so there's that. And so there's that part of you like, oh, I want to become me with capital letters. And so there's that part of you, whatever, that part of like, desirable element of ego that might be pushing me to go a little bit, to do more than I think I can. Right. And that's why, coaches and mentors, people that see, I've always had a good coach, someone that sees more in you than you maybe can in yourself. Yeah. And so there are a lot of those through both things. The athletics ones I didn't listen to as much because, again, I knew I wasn't going to do that for a living. At some point I'm like, I'm not going to hustle. I'm not going to take that charge. That guy's twice my size. Give me a break. What, I get a Coke? I get a Coke and I get kneed in the fucking chin and balls? He's going for a layup? That's a big kid. I'm not getting away with that guy. No way. Did you take charges? You guys did.
I still do, unfortunately.
That's in the pros too. It's good because
you get basically two things are going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to either get kneed in the groin area as the guy kind of goes up.
Yep.
Or you're gonna fall right on like your sacrum, right on your
exactly. That's what I'd be worried
lower
about.
Backbone.
And what about every day right before tip off? And I know that, and I ask this because we ask a lot of questions always, and we ask for advice, or we give advice based on our own experiences. Do you worry about becoming a GIF, a negative GIF? Someone dunking on you.
In today's day and age, all the time.
It's inevitable, right?
And I think every guy has it in the back of their mind.
I know.
Because the first thing we do the first thing we do, every player in the NBA, first thing you do, either whenever you look at your phone, whether it's in the locker room, bus, plane, whatever,
right.
It's you go to House of Highlights.
Exactly.
What happened?
I started following it because you talking about I literally
you go to House of Highlights and you just see like the most
shit. Did they get me? Did I get gift? Before I played in the Celebrity All-Star game in Toronto a couple years ago, on the flight up there, I got nervous and I was like, what the fuck? Why am I nervous? And I realized, I'm just nervous about getting crossed over or like getting whatever dunked on or something like. Because I have gifs in my head of those moments happening throughout my life with Ty Lue or a fellow Brian Merchant. I remember him dunking on me so hard at the Athletic Club of Overland Park, and I just stayed down like I was hurt. because I didn't want to hear it. I just stayed out like, oh, and so nobody could be like, oh. They were just like, oh, everybody went like, oh shit, you okay, dude? It's like, oh, I don't know, man. Like that was instantly. It's like I get why people flop. It's mostly just so they don't get gift.
The best one is when a guy will get crossed over and fall.
Yeah.
And then he'll go to the ref and point and be like, the floor is wet. That's why I fell. I had a season, I think it was 2011. It was when I was in Orlando. It was one of my like 4th or 5th year in Orlando. I got crossed over twice in a week in the span of like 3 games and fell both times. It was on YouTube, but there was no Instagram then.
That's different. Instagram, it wasn't. I literally, like, just the idea of becoming like a GIF, like 7 connected frames that people can text to one another. Be like, oh man, swing and a miss. Like, does anytime, something bad happens, like the crying Jordan meme, like, good Lord, that guy's all 4 fellas on Mount Rushmore and 1 athlete. And like that crying memes there's a whole generation that mostly knows that. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So I've had some friends that have done the SNL parties.
Like you've gone to them and stuff.
Yeah, and like they're like a thing of legend.
Yes,
and especially like season finale. I've had, I don't know if it was Blake or it was somebody I know went to one of them. And where do they rank on this? Just overhyped, underhyped, properly hyped? Are they as good as everybody says they are? What makes them good?
I think what makes them good is the same thing that makes SNL like good or like interesting or like is the potential of it. Like it's SNL is live and the parties are live.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like alive. Like, you never know who's gonna walk in there. It's gonna be like oh, Joe Biden and Julius Erving just showed up together. I don't know. I don't know. Like you just don't know who's gonna show up. And sometimes there's people under 70. But like there's But the finales are always fascinating because people come to play in regards to music, but then also just in general. You're gonna get to see Lauren. Probably have a few pops, and then out on the dance floor. And anytime you get to see your boss dance, it's like fascinaning.
Do you still go occasionally to the parties?
Parties not so much. I'll take Otis. Otis is going up to see certain musical guests on Thursdays, because they'll do sound checking.
Sure.
Like he loves Bruno Mars and Chance the Rapper, so we went up there, saw Mumford and Sons, took him to see D'Angelo. That was the first one. It was like, look, that was for me. But that's been fun taking him up there. And then we'll go to maybe 1 or 2 live shows a year. I mean, best seat in the house is watching it at home. If we have friends in town or something, it's a fun thing to take people to and see. But yeah, the most part. But I was never finales for me. Goodbyes in general aren't really. I'm not great at them. Never have been. I should probably work on that and get better at them instead of thinking it's romantic to not be. But so be it. But yeah, I think they're properly hyped. I mean, like anything, it becomes a work party a little bit, if you've been there for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But and it can be, and they can definitely, like after, think about those bus trips, like coming home from the other high school after a loss. Like if you didn't play, like if I didn't do anything in the show. If it was a great show and I didn't do anything in the show, that just hurts your heart. That's like riding the pine and wish I was out there, but whatever. I
was trying to think of like an equivalent for us, and it's like there's really only one time we would ever have something like that, and it would be if we're playing a playoff game,
right?
An elimination playoff game on the road.
Yes,
and that plane ride back would be our season finale party. It's the only time, because it's unrealistic to get like 15 guys.
Oh yeah.
To in the off season, like get together, like it doesn't happen. Or I take that, but the second scenario would be if you win a championship.
Well,
like,
I assume. Yeah,
you're gonna have the parade.
I've seen it. You're gonna have the parade. You're gonna have a parade, and that starts around 2, so you're drinking at 1. But yeah, no, It's just a part of the culture. I mean, I'm sure back in the 70s, just like the schedule is probably all a vestige from like, when cocaine was like a co-writer on the show. Now it's more, caffeine, for better or worse.
Hey, cocaine was a big part of the NBA in the 80s.
Exactly.
In
Yeah.
the 80s.
It was just a thing. It was around the parties. My philosophy was always like, well, you work hard all week. You might as well, party out that hard. The hardest thing is once you get going, once you sort of you've done it for a few years, you become like a grown man. You're like, oh, I need to get up like at 11 on Sunday. I can't get up at 4. I've got things I got to do. I got whatever. I got to emails I got to go through. Whatever. Just
when
adult
can you
shit.
sleep till 11 though? You sleep till 11?
Well, no. This was back when I was at SNL.
Okay.
My schedule for a good 15 years was going to bed at 4 a.m., waking up at noon. Like I had hacked the system there for a while. But it's but no movies, and then non-SNL, non-theater, and then kids. Obviously, those 3 components. Yeah, it's an early.
I'm like a 5:30 guy at this point in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the 18-month-old, because we have.
How are they?
They're exactly 2 years apart.
Yeah, so we're 2.5 years.
August 24th, August 26th.
Was it boy or girl? The second one?
Both boys.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. But the youngest, like he's like, he could sleep in till 6:45. That's sleeping in. That's phenomenal. Like we're anything past 6:30 and we're ecstatic.
Otis is a sleeper.
He'll get up 4:50 sometimes.
Yeah, that's not cool. How did they deal with the moving here?
It's weird.
I mean, you're in the middle of it.
Yeah,
it's only a quarter of the
my
life.
My wife came with them in March, so before last season ended.
Gotcha.
And so the oldest says to us all the time, I don't know how he knows this, but he's like, I miss LA, I miss California, I miss Manhattan Beach, I miss Ruth, his nanny there. I was oh God, that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
The other kid was like 6. He doesn't remember.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
And he's a maniac. We call him Kaizilla. His name's Kaizilla. He's the destroyer.
Daisy's like we call Daisy Crazy Daisy. Like she'll jump in the pool. Otis will like need 2 noodles and be very measured. And he's very much like me getting into any pool. It takes me about 30 minutes because it's just cold around your belly. But then Daisy just like it's so cute. It's so great. I'm like, oh, keep it, girl, keep it as long as you can. But yeah, it's.
2 is a big jump, though. I'm
2 kids.
Yeah, 2 is a big jump.
My favorite joke that I've been telling a lot, and I got to look it up. I keep saying it every time after I say it. But someone said this to me. I can't remember who it was. It may have even been on a show. But having a second kid, when people ask you, as I'm sure that people are asking you all the time now too, is like it's like you're drowning. Having a second child is like as if you were drowning in the ocean, and then someone threw you a baby.
We're well past an hour. Thank you.
That is it. There you go.
Thank you.
That's it for today's show. Before we go, I wanted to mention it's Jordan LeBron week at The Ringer. The question of Jordan or LeBron may live on for longer than they do. All this week, The Ringer is celebrating and examining the impact of 2 of the most influential players in basketball history with articles, podcasts, and videos. So make sure to head over to theringer.com to check it out. My vote is LeBron. I've said it before, he's the greatest player of all time. If he retired today, he is the greatest player of all time. As always, if you have suggestions or comments about the show, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at JJRedick. We're off next week, but we'll be back in March with celebrity chef Grant Achatz. Until then, if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to give us a rating and review over at Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate it.